Well, today on Business Journey Unlocked, I'm here today with Jennifer Harvey, co owner and executive director at Touching Hearts at Home. With over a decade of experience in geriatric social work, Jennifer brings together dementia informed social work, family support, and community building with a strong focus on person centered care and some more supporting individuals with dementia at home. Jennifer, I'm really excited to dive into this conversation today. I'm going to turn it over to you because you'll explain yourself and your work far better than I ever could.
Thanks for the introduction. I'll probably use an introduction that I sort of use when I'm training new staff. I always make sure they know, like, I fell into this work. I am accidentally here where I am. um, I always loved people. So as a kid, I was just like, I love people and I want to help people. And so what did I go to school for? Education. And so my first degree is in special education. And then when I decided to pursue a master's degree, I realized education, or at least teaching itself and teaching children, was just not necessarily right for me. I went back for a master's in social work. And they said, your first internship, we're going to put you with a population that you've never worked with before. And I was like, oh, crap, they're going to put me with old people. And I don't want to work with old people. I had all like my ideas about old people, like what are they like?
Yeah.
Oh, and I just figured, I would continue to work with children and families. Um, so they did. They put me in an assisted living, and that was my first internship. And I absolutely just fell in love with working with older adults. Um, the life review that comes with that, we were talking earlier just about like not caring what people think. Like a lot of older adults, I mean, some of them do, but a lot of them are like, been there, done that. This is who I am. You get what you get. And I just really appreciated that and just loved the ease of working with them, and supporting them and supporting their families. Um, I really came to enjoy working with people with dementia and understanding dementia and helping other people understand it. And so that led me to, a number of different jobs, all in, geriatric social work. And then 5 years ago, I joined the team at Touching Hearts, right as the pandemic was starting. So I think it was April 20th, 2020. And had my infant daughter, strapped to my chest and trying to teach my son virtual first grade and start a new job. And it's been a gift. I never imagined myself being here. I've just always done the next thing that feels right to me. Um, and it felt right. And I guess I was right about that because it's been just an awesome, awesome, awesome journey. And so now I'm part of the ownership team, and we've grown so much in 5 years. Just our reach has grown and our team has grown, and yeah, I'm really proud of everything we've accomplished.
That's awesome to hear. I find the best things in life just happen out of nowhere, right? So
Hmm.
when
Yep.
when you're looking at Touching Hearts at Home today, what would be the core mission you and your team are kind of really nailing down in terms of, problems either team focused, solving in terms of the seniors and families in the region you're at right now?
Yeah. So our mission, on a whole, is to, keep seniors safely at home, avoid hospitalization, avoid unnecessary illness, um, help them to age in place, i- in whatever place that they are or desire to be. Um, so, that's our kind of like very large umbrella mission. Um, for me personally, and what I've tried to instill in my team is like, we can do all of that with lots of love and heart. and I, you know, I want people's experience with us to be not just like, oh yeah, they provided home care for, my mom, my dad, my grandma, my grandpa. Like, I want there to be this meaningful impact of experience that they had. Like, wow, they provided this service and they also like cared a lot. Um, so that's like my like drill down mission. And then as I've gotten, as I've, expanded in my role, and like when I first started, I was very like in the weeds in the operations because we were a small team and we were still a small business really building. But now that I've built up a team too, like my personal focus more is like also how do I take care of my staff, because it takes really special people to do this kind of work and to actually care the way you want them to care. But then you have to love and take care of them too. So that's kind of been I would say in the last year, I've had this like, okay, my mission is changing to some degree. I have to love those people who are going to love the seniors. Um, and so that's a cool shift, and just like growth in myself.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Obviously, staff dictates the whole experience for the company as a whole,
Hmm.
right? If you hire poor staff,
Hmm.
then that correlation is going to transition into the experience with the seniors and the family, and it's going to come to a point like Jennifer. What are you doing? Like, who is this person? This person isn't qualified to be here.
Yeah.
What's
Right.
going on? Do you pick this person off the street?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I do agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
It you do need a special person for this type of work because not everybody can do it. Not everybody can mentally do it. It's not about physicality, it's all about the mentality, right? It's just, as we were talking earlier about my personal experiences with my grandfather, it was very hard for me to see that, especially in just one person. Right now, you got to think about how many other people, in your organization, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 people, right? You're doing that day by day, night by night, week by week. So it does
Yeah.
take a special person. Do totally
Yeah.
agree
It
with that.
certainly does. Yeah.
So going on the earlier days when you stepped into the home care leadership, obviously you mentioned the uncomfortable aspect. And that's with anything in life. You don't really grow. You don't grow when you're comfortable. You grow when you're into an uncomfortable state. So regarding the leadership, what was the biggest challenges you had to push through to build that momentum, build the Jennifer Harvey who you are today?
Well, that's a good question. So I've always struggled, and we were talking about like, caring about what people think of you. um, And I've always struggled with like I do care what people think about me. Not so much from a vanity perspective, but I'm more like I don't we want to be the cause of someone's like discomfort or pain or, and when you're a leader, when you're a manager, like you're sometimes going to make people uncomfortable. You're sometimes going to have to say the things or put the foot down where people don't want to hear it. Um, so that's been a struggle for me in leadership, and I'm not done with that struggle. That's an ongoing one for me. Um, I also like being in human services and always being in not in like I've never been in like a corporate office, setting. And so being in human services too, like you're often working with small teams, you're often um serving multiple roles, and that also makes it hard to because you on one hand have to build the relationships and have more than just like that work relationship, right? There's going to be the personal touch. Um, but then you also have to maintain boundaries of, okay, this person is my colleague, but I also spend a lot of time with them. So they've kind of become my friend. And, how do you navigate that? And I honestly don't have really an answer. It's been just something that I've had to work on and just self-awareness about it. Um, and I don't even know if I'm necessarily great at it. I I guess my antidote to all of that is being as honest as possible at all times. So whether it's in the personal interactions or the professional interactions, like I just try to be really honest and transparent
Mhm.
and hope that that genuineness comes through and that like keeps the trust there. Um that's just been how I've handled it because it's just very hard. It's very, very hard to be a leader and to manage people.
I agree. It's good to have that open and honest conversation. Just you just being transparent, right? I mean, at the end of the day, I'm
Hmm.
more of a direct person. So when I am involved with certain conversations, I'm like, just be direct with me. That's all I'm asking you to be. I don't care. I'm not asking you to like, beat around the bush because we're not going to get anywhere if you're doing that. I like to be more direct. I like to be more open and more transparent. And that just clears the confusion, right? But it is
Hmm.
I do see
Hmm.
your perspective because you wanna be their colleague, their friend, but then also sometimes you need to put your foot down. Be like, "No, this is how you do it. Why are you doing it this way?" When people see that other side of you, they're like, "Oh, wow, Jennifer's serious right now. We gotta we gotta
Yeah.
stop playing. We gotta
Yeah.
stop playing right
Yeah.
now."
Yeah. Well, and then you also just have to be confident in yourself and the decision that you're making. And just and sometimes and it's kind of like I mean I'm also a parent. So, it's like I believe there is a time and a place for the answer like because I said so. Right? Like I can't explain why I'm telling you to do this thing. Like just do it because I said so. And that again, I don't like to make people uncomfortable. I want to like always give all the reasons, but sometimes you also like you just know what needs to happen. And yeah, and it's like just do what I said. And because at the end but at the end of the day, I also take responsibility for the outcome.
As
And
you
I
should.
think that's a really important part of leadership. And one of my staff, actually, he loves sports analogies. And he he was this is pretty early on when he started working for me. And he was like, listen, at the end of the day, like you're the coach. So if you tell me what play to run, like I'm gonna run that play. Now, whether that was the right play or not, at the end of the day, you're the coach. You told me to do it. I did it. And, you have to deal with the consequences. And I was like, I love that because that's what I do. Yeah, like I will back my team up 100%. I don't believe in throwing people under the bus. And I believe that like the buck stops with me. So even if they mess up, it's my it's my ultimate responsibility in one way, shape, or form.
Mhm.
So I love that analogy because I was like, yeah, like, right. And I don't have to explain everything to you. Like, I'm just gonna tell you the play, and of course he's like, and I'll have no problem telling you that, like, hey, that was the wrong play, dude. But I did it because you told me, and you're the coach. And I appreciate that. Like, I appreciate his honesty in that too. So, um, I think that's really important because you're not a leader if you tell people what to do and then like crucify them when they fail, on your directions. Like that's not being a leader. So
Yeah, that's a beautiful analogy as well. I do like that analogy. But some
yeah, it's
people
good,
some
right?
people fail to yeah, some people fail to remember you're you're in that position, that leadership position for a reason.
Mhm.
And I guess some people just get so wrapped up in I don't want to say their ego, but it's
Mhm.
just I don't know. Sometimes people think, "Oh, I can do this better or I'll do it this way. Why did Jennifer tell me to do it this way when I should do it that way?" But there's a reason you said that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're the leader for a certain reason because of the time and service you had, right? There's a reason why you're in that position. So looking on like a vantage point, what's something different about touching hearts at home that most people don't generally see from the outside? Because you got to remember, there's so many different types of senior home care, senior facilities. What's something that kind of differentiates you between the other noises?
Hmm. You know, I think that transparency and honesty really is a differentiator. I mean, I could talk to you about like the actual business differentiators, and I'm sure if you want to talk about those, you know, I I get really excited and wrapped up in like what makes us different like here. And I think just in my experience hearing about other, whether it's home cares or other like senior services, some of the things that I hear over and over again that to me are a no-brainer in terms of how we would be different are like communication and follow through and calling people back and answering the phone when they call. Like we have a general rule that like our calls do not go to voicemail. At least during like regular business hours. Like every once in a while they do, but for the most part we answer every single call. And I cannot tell you how many people are surprised to hear that someone answered the phone. Especially seniors, like they need us to answer the phone. Like they don't want to deal with I don't want to deal with a phone tree, let alone someone who's, twice my age. So,
Mhm.
um, I mean, those are simple differentiators and it may sound kind of like silly, but I think those things right there, it's just thinking about the experience from the very first phone call, from the very first interaction. Um, I think that's so important. And also then like the follow through. So if you say you're going to do something, you do it. Um, and that does make a difference. And in my experience, like hearing the stories of seniors or their families, in interacting with senior services and, whatever other services they're pursuing, um, that's what they appreciate the most. Um, and then really listening and taking the time and not rushing people. Um, Again, especially I do say especially seniors, but really that's for all people. Like I just don't believe in rushing people. I want you to feel like you're the only person that's important to me when I'm with you, you know? Um, and I try to have our staff feel, present that feeling too. Um, especially our admin staff in the office. Um, so I don't know. Hope those are the kind of differentiators you're looking for.
I don't believe those are silly because, and this is the pros and cons with anything. Some people just get so wrapped up in the image of the business that sometimes they
Mhm.
fail to recognize why they started in the first place. What exactly is the core mission? Because if you're just thinking about expanding, if you're just thinking about, trying to bring in as much, I'd say, profit as possible, you fall short on what exactly the true message for your organization is. So I don't believe those are silly things. I think those are more necessary things, and some people just fail to realize
Mhm.
that those little, small, silly things make a huge impact.
Yeah. Yeah, they really do. I mean, yeah, I can't emphasize enough how just like that human touch and you know real genuine care matter. They really do matter, especially right now, like, right? Like, our world is just so
Yeah.
like, it's so there's just so much room for not caring and not being kind, and I'm like, "Nope, not on my watch." Like, it makes all the difference, and it's a foundation, like, it's not, you know, I think it's also really easy to look at someone like me and, like, I also, like, I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm really, like, vulnerable. Like, I believe in vulnerability. If you Kevin, if you have not read Brené Brown, you need to. I'm on a Brené Brown kick right now. Um, but I believe, I believe in all that, I think sometimes that is seen as weakness, but, you know, I'm always like, I'm not as naive as I look. Like, you may think I'm just like, oh, she's so nice. Like, she's too nice to everybody. And it's like, no, like, it is strategic. It is, it's not manipulative, but it is strategic. Like, the strategy is do good by people. And like that just all comes rolling back. It's just in business, in life, like, and it may be a little slower. We look at our growth, we measure so many metrics, weekly, monthly, annually. And in some ways I'm like, oh yeah, like slow and steady, here's our office, like, but steady, right? Like that's better than like I don't know where I am, I don't know who's who. My team's changing all the time. It's so there's something about like building that foundation because that like once that's strong, then you go right up from there. So it, there is strategy. Like kindness is a strategy, a business strategy, I believe.
I love that. I'm a firm believer that it doesn't matter how the world treats you, it's a matter how you treat the world. And some people fail to realize that. And it's a shame, because people just get so inundated with, I understand the environment is a big dictation on how you feel, both physically and mentally, but this shouldn't be the most revolving case. Like there's so many ways to break free out of that. Go somewhere else, move to your grandparents. There's so many ways to get out of that environment, but people are just so going back to comfortable. People are just so comfortable in how they're feeling that
Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
not strategic in your eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's also hard work, right?
It
Like
is.
it's
It is.
it's not easy to make a change, and it's not easy to always like do the right thing or do the kind thing. It's a heck of a lot easier to like float on by and stick with the status quo and kind of just be like in that neutral, right? Like I'm an okay person, I'm just kind of neutral, and I'm like I don't want to be neutral, I want to be someone that people feel safe with. Um, yeah, yeah, and yeah, a change and growth are hard, and you have to make a choice every day to continue to choose
Even if it's just
the
a
good
small
stuff,
step too.
you know.
If it's just a
Mhm.
small step as well,
Yeah.
you're stepping one step closer in the direction you wanna go into. It's not
Yep. Yep.
about
It adds up.
it does add up. It's not about doing it all at once, it's just doing little by little, and that creates a whole habitual avenue where, like, "Okay, wow, like, 2 months ago, I wouldn't be doing everything I'm doing right now."
Mhm. Mhm. Well,
So
and when you open yourself up to that, like you never know what you'll when you open yourself up, you never know what you'll be able to receive, you
right.
know? So you gotta sometimes be like, again, that vulnerable, like you gotta kind of be like, okay, I don't know exactly how this is gonna work, but let's just put it out
Gotta do
there.
it.
And
Just gotta do
yeah,
it.
and sometimes that's when the magic happens.
Mhm. Mhm. Because people get into this idea of analysis paralysis where they're just thinking about every little
Oh
thing, what
yeah.
can go wrong. But it's like you shouldn't be thinking about what can go wrong because things will go wrong. That's
Sure.
natural. That's life.
Yep.
God will throw so many things at you, but that's how you grow and become prosperous. but people are so afraid of failing, making these mistakes, that's what holds them back.
Yeah. Well, and failure, I mean, failure, which I actually don't like love that word. Like you didn't fail. You're learning, Like, could you imagine if every time a toddler who's trying to walk fell down, we were like, failure, right? Like, what would that do for them? That wouldn't help. No. Instead, what do we say? We're like, it's okay. You got this. Get back up. Come on. Right. So it's like, you're not, yeah, things are going to happen. And things that you can't even imagine are going to happen, good, bad, and otherwise. Like so you could create all the potential, especially like bad things in your mind and come up with this list of like all these terrible things that could happen. And then I promise you, like the bad thing that actually happens will blindside you. You're not prepared for it because you couldn't even imagine it. So it's like, I have a sign in my house that says, what's the best that could happen? And like for me, like that's the mindset shift. Like, of course, there's always bad things that can happen. That's life. But what is the best that could happen? There's a lot. There's a lot of good. And you have more control over that than you think. Like we're not as passive on this journey as we think we are. We have a lot of control. We have a lot of say over what happens in our lives.
I love that.
So,
You do make a fair point, very strong point in that. Regarding going back to senior home care, especially with dementia, complex needs, what major shifts or trends are you seeing right now, and how does that correlate to your influence with staffing, caregiving training, or just the way you design your overall care plans?
ooh, yeah. So, well, I mean, first and foremost, as I'm sure I don't have to tell you and most people who work with seniors, is our population is aging at a ridiculous rate, and we are not replenishing the population with younger people. So what that means is we're going to have a lot more older people than there are people to take care of them. Um, so I think for me, it's always about being creative. And like we're not here yet with Touching Hearts, but I do see a time when like we're going to have to be creative with, yeah, how do we utilize staff? How do we bring clients, together instead of having each of them in their own individual homes, like receiving care? Or is there a way to have like a more communal way of doing that? Um, we're going to have to think about as a nation, how are we going to pay for this care? Um, our services are paid for out of pocket, which is, a blessing and a curse. I feel like it's a blessing because, it is providing a service to the people who can afford it. And it's giving me an opportunity to say, okay, you know, what do they say? Like, to those whom much is given, like much is expected, or so I just feel like, then what do I do, what do I do with the growth of this business? But the reality is, like, there's a lot of people who cannot afford services. So what is that going to look like, and how are we going to make these services like ours more affordable and accessible to people? And then, you can't ignore technology. Like it's impacting every aspect of life. So we're keeping a close eye too on, technology and AI, and how is that going to complement what we're doing without like replacing us? And I don't believe in technology ever being able to fully replace a human being. That's not a world I want to live in. But how do they work together? You know? Um, and then also, like, yes, the needs of the seniors are changing over time, but also what I'm really seeing a lot, and especially as I get older and get more like closer to the age of a lot of like the family caregivers, is the family caregivers have a very different set of needs than they used to. They are tech savvy. They are, people who have been raised with technology, with, that sense of like instant gratification, and I want to get the answer when I want the answer. And so I think like staying on top of their needs is also really important. Like, yes, you care for the senior, but a lot of times the decision maker is not the senior. And so you got to keep them happy and meet them where they are. And those people, like those people are, I can relate to them. Like, not only did I care for my dad and like only had like a very short window of time to care for him with such a aggressive illness, but um like I can relate. Like I wanted answers right now because this is my dad and I want to know and I want to, and I think we're seeing more and more of that too. Um, so there's a lot to keep an eye on.
I believe the biggest proponent is, and this is with everything, but you gotta treat people the way you wanna be treated, and that's exactly what you're doing. You should treat the seniors like it's your own family. Because even though you're not related, in a sense, you're all connected in some strange way, the strange way of life. There's a
Mhm.
reason
Mhm.
why everything, happened, kind of fell into your position. So going
Yeah.
on the business side, not a lot of people see behind the curtains, especially in like a home care environment, because some people just think, oh, they're just gonna show up, be there for a couple hours, and then go on to the next person. Like there's a lot of delegation, there's a lot of admin time, as you mentioned. So going on
Yep.
that
Yep.
aspect, what's what's in your business? What's parts that are more so, I guess, time consuming, that's really just you're wishing, like, as you mentioned with, like, the AI, the automation, like, that wants to complement you. What's something that you
Mhm.
wish that could complement to make it more streamlined, more mainstream in the business?
Yeah. So some of the places that we've talked as like a company, and then like we have a couple other offices that are like sister offices to ours, and then we have a larger franchise system. And things that we've talked about a lot of ways, like how do you automate? And there's tons of companies out there who are doing that, and they're providing us tools, or options for tools that can automate things. I think a lot of like the heavy time stuff is, recruiting. Recruiting takes a ton of time. Um, and again, like you think about the experience, right? Like there's a customer service experience too, even for the people that we're recruiting to come work for us. Um, so I think that's a place where there's room to use technology and see if it can help us in that sense. Um, scheduling is a huge I mean, I have a full-time scheduling coordinator. Like that's a job in and of itself, just scheduling and keeping everything running. So, um I think that's a place where technology and like certain automations I'm sure can be helpful. Um yeah, and then it's, other administrative stuff. Um I admittedly, like, I struggle a little bit with, like, using technology because 'cause I'm like, "I don't want it to take my brain power away," but I also see, from a time perspective, how it can be helpful to ask ChatGPT, for lack of a better example, to help you summarize a care plan and, have, like, a nice narrative to be able to put in a client's profile. So, that's something I've been doing recently. And yeah, like that's pretty awesome. I think the trick is that what do I do with that additional time? Right? Like if that's going to save me time, then like I'm not going and using that time to, like take a nap. Like I'm going to use that time to do something that only a person can do. I have like mixed feelings about it a little bit, but I think there are lots of ways that we can automate the stuff that just is going to happen every day, pretty much the same way, ongoing. Like that's where you can use those automations, and they make the most sense. So you can save the human power for the human situations.
I see your perspective. There's a lot of people in the same perspective and mindset as you, but obviously there's a difference. There's a difference between using ChatGPT for your situation and then using it for everyday life. I mean, there's people out there who use it for every little thing. Oh, what would happen if I do this? What would happen if I do that? Should I wear this? Should I wear that? And it, as you mentioned, it takes away your decision making. It takes away your brain power. So, but the way you're
Hmm.
implementing it is pretty good. You're using it for just
I think
saving
so.
time. Yeah. Don't think, you know.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Using it for good, right? That's the goal. I don't want someone else to think for me. It's fun to think. I I know it's fun to think. It's just, yeah, you don't want to lose that. You don't want to lose that. Well, and technology is also one of those things that, at least still for now, right? Like we have clients, average age of our clients, I don't even know, but let's say it's 80, right? Um, so these are people who were born in the 40s, right? And um, technology is also continues to be, and again, I say right now because it won't always be, or maybe it will always be, but technology is also like a divide between our clientele and our staff. So you also can't just throw technology at things and have people who are generations older than you be okay with it. That it doesn't work that way. So I think working with a wide range of people in terms of age makes at least me like a little more sensitive and aware of, like, this is not going to feel the same to everybody. It's not like walking into, an office in Silicon Valley, where like everybody's in their 20s and they're like, "Oh, of course we use this." Like, no, you've got to also relate to, the 85-year-old and her, 60-year-old son who didn't grow up with a phone in their hands, So, yeah, you got to be sensitive to that. You can't rush those kinds of things, cuz that's not kind. Like, throwing people into situations where they're not comfortable is probably not going to end well. So you have to also show them the value and really like take the time to help them understand how something can be of value to them.
Mhm, mhm. As you mentioned before, it's the personalization. There may be some individuals that you care for who are more technically savvy as opposed to the other, so it just depends on the person. But I do agree,
It does.
you
Yeah.
shouldn't metaphorically throw them in the wolves' den, because then they're gonna
Right.
start freaking out, they're gonna start stressing out, then their experience and their health starts to deteriorate too.
Yeah. Yeah. Need us to meet them where they are, right? But push them a little bit, like that's the goal, right? Is like, I'm with you, I'm here with you while we grow and figure this out. And I mean, that's how even we have to present, like, forget about technology, right? But even just presenting the concept of home care to people, like having someone come in and help you, that's a really tough pill to swallow. So meeting people where they are and saying like, yeah, you're right. This is uncomfortable. You're having a stranger come into your home, and like, I honor and respect how you feel about that. And I'm here to make it as easy for you as possible. But it's going to be hard too. And I think that's so important to just also like normalize their feelings. That's the social worker in me, is just say like, yeah, it's normal for you to not want this help. Who does? Like, who wakes up in the morning and says like, gee, I wish I had well, actually, I wouldn't mind somebody helping me get through my day, but but, like, who wakes up in the morning and says, like, "I can't wait to have someone come, like, help me take a shower and make my meals and drive me around," and, like, you wanna do those things for yourself. So, we just need to, again, like, meet people where they are. This is life's hard. Life is hard.
Essentially
We
meet
don't have
them
to
in the
make it
middle.
harder.
Exactly, just meet them in the middle,
Yeah,
and it's going back to the ego too, right? It's just they don't want to accept that this is where they are in life, because some people have a very negative connotation to getting help, but essentially, they're there
mhm,
to make your life easier. They're there to help you
mhm,
out and just even
yep,
mundane tasks you might not be able to do. So once people get through that barrier and understand, like, okay, Jennifer and her team are here because of X, Y, and Z, because I can't do X, Y, and Z. Oh, thank God they're here to help me. I wouldn't be able to do
yeah,
this without them.
yep, yep, and we can help you with X, Y, and Z, so maybe you can go back to doing ABC that you haven't had the energy for, or you haven't had the desire for, or because XYZ was taking everything out of you, and so now, like, that's where quality of life comes in too. Like, we're not just there, and I do tell my staff that, we're not just there to check boxes off a list. We're also there to build relationship and, like, and make, quality of life
Mhm,
a factor.
mhm.
So yeah, and we see, like, amazing results from that,
Awesome.
and that's the most gratifying part. Yeah.
It's awesome. Going into the new year, you briefly mentioned you have sister companies. With Touching Hearts at Home, where would you want to see the company excel in end of 2026 and beyond?
Um, hmm. I mean, we are always growing, so I just wanna continue growing, with our staff and just our reach and, we're expanding not expanding, I mean, we have our service area, but we're always trying to get, like, into every part of all of our service areas,
Mhm,
so I want to continue to see that. Um I've worked really hard on, our staff retention, and for me, like, now that I've worked so hard on it and, like, gotten it so good, I just wanna continue for that to be good. Um, I want to focus on staff training, um, for my caregivers, but also for my office staff. Like, they've kind of been I was just talking to my HR manager today about that, like, hey, our office staff are a little neglected sometimes when it comes to training. So I want to see them, just growing and having opportunities for personal growth and professional growth. Um, and I want to be exploring, other things that can make us different. Again, like, I have a couple, like, technology things that we're kind of working on and exploring, but just again, like, just staying ahead of what others are doing, and
mhm.
with, at risk of sounding cocky, like, continue to be the best. Like, we want to be the best.
That's not cocky.
That's I well, thank you. I just, it's like, I just want we had someone call last week and say, like, "Oh, I heard great things about Touching Hearts. Like, I heard you guys are a great company to work for." It's like, that's what I want. I just want that to be the known in our community, that we are a great place to work, we are a great place to receive, home care from. Um, like, that's the ultimate goal. And yes, there are some, like, measurables that will get us there, but yeah, like, qualitatively, that's the goal.
Mhm. And ultimately, how are you gonna get there? You're gonna get there through the framework you instill not only in yourself, but also with the team that you have under your belt. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Again, keep doing the right thing. Like,
Mhm.
just be open-minded to learn from them. Um, yeah, and it'll all come together. And also just to continue to be my best self and be willing to grow and learn and know that I don't have all the answers, but I'm willing to find out what I can do differently or better. Um, Growth totally comes from that, you know? And again, like it's like all the different types of growth, right? You think about the numbers and yes, that's great, but the other things have to be growing in order for that to grow. So,
That's beautiful. You shared a lot about caregiving, leadership, and just ultimately building and expanding a legacy. Now, you did actually make a fair point in that you have to learn, you're constantly learning every single day. Besides that, is there another piece of advice or wisdom you want to share for listeners who are either caring for their family, loved ones, or just need that initial push to help them help their parents in the senior care world?
yeah, I think there's a couple things. You as a caregiver, you often feel like you're alone and you're the only one who has the experience that you're having. And I promise you, you're not. So find other people. And I mean, that's, you think about like the blessings of technology, like there are Facebook groups and there are blogs and there are, like amazing resources out there to find people who are going through a similar experience to you. Um, and one of the things I also always say to caregivers, to family caregivers, is do not apologize for advocating for your loved one. Do not, because there are a lot of people out there who will make you feel like, why do you have a question about that? And why do you and I'm the doctor, or I'm the nurse, or I'm the social worker, or I'm the, you know, and I'm telling you how it is. Like if you gotta trust your gut because you're the only person who knows your loved one
Mhm.
the way you know them. So don't ever apologize for advocating. When people say that to me, like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't want to be a pain," and I'm like, "No, no, no, no. You can be a pain. Like you can be a pain to us because that means you love your person and you should be holding us accountable." So, yes, like don't apologize for that. And also, like my last advice is be proactive. So, and that's for everybody. So don't wait until you're in a caregiving position or you're the one who needs care. Like be proactive in saying, you know, yeah, God willing, I'm going to get older, right? Because, like, what's the alternative, right? You get older or you die. So, if I'm going to get older, how do I want to be cared for? How do I want these people around me who love me to be cared for and they're taking care of me, And so, like, having those difficult conversations. I've been on a real like hospice and palliative care kick since my dad got sick and passed away. And, it's like you've got to have the hard conversations about, well, what if this and what if that and what do I want? And, you know, um, I think it's just never too early to start those conversations because your life can change in an instant.
Mhm.
And if the people around you don't know what you value and what you want and what the plan is for this, then you're in trouble. So if you know there's something going on, like handle it, get some answers, talk to people, do your due diligence, and be open to like to talk it. Like don't make things harder for the people who are going to be the ones to take care of you.
That's very powerful, and it is very hard for people to have those conversations, but those are conversations that need to happen, if you don't like it or not. There's a reason why these
Yeah,
conversations are happening in the first place. Even though
yeah,
it might be hard
yeah,
in the moment, But would you rather have it hard in the moment or not have the conversation and you're like, "Oh my gosh, what do I do now?" Then you start freaking out.
Mhm.
So once you have that
Mhm.
game plan, essentially, once you have the
Yep.
framework, then it's just a lot
Yep.
easier to amend the process to make it as smooth, make it as streamlined as possible. But yeah, again, it's just going on that not everyone wants to have those conversations, but they need to happen. They need to happen. And that's just the way of
Yeah.
life. It's upsetting.
Yeah. Yeah, sure it is. Right. Right. But it impacts a lot of people. My dad, just a quick like story. So he had a 30-year plan. And when I would try to talk to him about like, hey, dad, like you're getting a little bit older, like let's just have a sense of what, because I could talk to my mom about it, but she was like, oh my God, you have to be my healthcare proxy because dad will keep me alive forever. And like, I know you'll like cut the cord, you know? Um, and she's like, I get like, he'll just keep me plugged in. But he was like, we'll talk about this in 30 years. Like, like I'm going to live another. And then he got sick, he got cancer, and he lived for 7 months. And thank God, well, a lot of things, but thank God he didn't drop dead, because if he had, we wouldn't have known what we needed to know.
Mhm.
Um, and thank God that then once he did get sick and we were like, oh, you're going to die from this, that he was able to have those conversations. Because he still could have like dug his heels in and been like, no, like we're not talking about this. But I'm so thankful. And like he really, like he did hard work those last 7 months of his life, like catching up for all the years he had pushed off, to the 30-year plan. But he would that like I'm so thankful that he was willing to have those conversations with us and like get everything in order, because what it all like it gave us peace, but what it also allowed us to do was like take care of him in the way that he wanted to be taken care of, and like meet honor his wishes. Not just about how he died, but like how we lived those last few months. And so again, like that's such a gift that he like I'm thankful we had the time for him to be able to finally give us that gift of like, listen, we got to talk, we got to know what the plan is. So yeah, like it's never too early to just start just knowing what you think you want, and knowing what the people who you're going to be responsible for want.
It is truly a gift, and that is very powerful. Before we wrap up here, for anyone who's listening or watching this, what's the best place for them to reach out to you and or Touching Hearts?
Yeah, so our main number is, well, I'll give you our website. Actually, it's touchinghearts.com/capital district. All of our information is on there. Our main number is the one and only is 518-250-6867, and people can certainly reach me that way. And then email, I mean, I'm happy to get emails from folks. And so my email is Harvey, Harvey, at touchingheartsny.com. And so I'm always happy to hear from people. And if I can be a resource, even if Touching Hearts and home care is not the need, I, I know a lot of people, and I love to make connections. And so I'm always here to just talk and brainstorm and point people in the right direction.
That's amazing. I do love that touch that even if they want to reach out for other avenues, you're just here as a resource because that really shows you truly
Sure.
care about your work. That's
Yeah,
a blessing.
absolutely.
That's very
Absolutely.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jennifer. I really do
Thanks.
appreciate the time for you coming on today. This was a really good story. Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome. Thanks for having me.